So if you're looking to copy one of my decks, don't do that. That's scary for everybody.
Welcome to Corrans Questions, a show where I ask a panel of Star Wars CCG experts some of the big questions about getting better at the game. Today's panel. I took his Old Allies deck to 2021 Worlds and went 1-3 with it, Hayes Hunter. A variation on his 0 Hour deck has been my primary light deck for the past year, Charlie Arlinson. Every time I see one of his decks, I try to play it and lose, Bill Taco Bill Kafer. One of these days, I'm going to put together his musician's deck, Scott Lingrell. If I ever try WAP, it will be one of his decks, Robbie Hendon. And the only reason I have any experience with tractor beams is a deck he built that my friend Travis tried to net deck without knowing what any of the cards did, Anthony Batmouse Howard. Today's question is, how do you choose a net deck?
So when you net deck, you want to first find a deck that you want to try. And then you go on, say, the deck list page. You can do a search. Let's say I want to try out a card. And you type in that deck, and it'll bring up all the decks that have been used with that deck list, right? That card. And then from there, you can kind of look at them and say, all right, I like the cards in this deck, or I like the idea that I'm getting from looking at it. And that's when you play it.
You really have to look at why that deck was played. You can't just choose a net deck and copy it over and go, oh, I'm just going to play this against everybody. You really have to look at the field that deck was played against. I get into conversation with teammates and other players all the time about, oh, well, just grab a copy of that deck. And I'm like, yeah, but if I played an exact copy of your deck, that deck isn't going to do me any good because my local meta is completely different than your local meta.
So personally, I net decked Ryan Jellison's Throne Room for Las Vegas. And the reason I wanted to play a Throne Room deck was because I was very upset about Watto. I couldn't beat it. It was very frustrating to play against. So I thought, well, number one, if I'm playing Throne Room, I'll have 2 force to be able to not lose force from Watto's objective. And so I looked at a few decks. Your 12-card start, for example, Ryan Jellison's 3 effect. I looked at all of these different versions, and that's what I did is I said, oh, I like the cards in this deck. Let me play that one. And that's how I think people should do it, is find a card or a concept that you want to try, or a card that you like. You search for those cards, and then you kind of look at the different decks and see which one you want to try.
If you play the community long enough, you learn what their tendencies are, and that really helps you go, oh, well, I know that player A is a mains player, and let me look through everybody else in attendance. Player A is the one I'm the most scared of. Everybody else, I have a fighting chance with. Player A is the one that I really need to take down. So I would choose something that counters mains fairly well. So if you're looking to copy one of my decks, don't do that. That's scary for everybody. Uh, if you're trying to play a Batmouse deck, I wish you tons of luck. Um, but for me, I would say look at who you were playing against, who that deck was played against, and build from there.
I would not build top 8 decks ever. So some people think like I should look at the deck that won or whatever, but day 1 and day 2 are so different, I think, at least like at the highest level, that you should basically look at, I would say, the top 8 who made it in day 1 and pick a deck you like and you think would be kind of like a play style you'd like to play. and I would just play that. And it can be whatever you want, but I would play something in the top 8 of like the last tournament with the current meta, and then just play a bunch of games with it.
The biggest one is choose day 1 decks, or if it's a 3-day event, day 2 decks. But we don't really do day 3 day of decks anymore. The main reason for that is your day 2 decks are going to be more honed towards possible opponents. Your day 1 decks are going to be more geared towards an open. We kind of have an idea of what we think the meta is going to be like, so which we'll get into another question later on. But we choose the last few cards of our deck based on that meta. But it's more, those day 1 decks are going to be more geared towards a bunch of decks rather than just a couple of them like you would on your day 2 ones. Outside of that,
don't change it at all, because like the mentality of the person who built that deck to go first, second, up to 8 was, I'm building this deck, I'm expecting X in the meta, and I have tools in this that can help me beat whatever might be a challenge in the meta. So that design succeeded, right? So like that's what I wouldn't even change anything. I'd pick probably whatever you like playstyle wise, top 8, day 1, not day 2, because day 2 is just way different.
just pick something that did well at the event. One thing that I learned from playing other games, with ours, we only have 8 rounds, so if somebody's in the top 8, they either went 2-2 or better with their deck for the most part. But you can go look and see round by round how they did. And, because it is possible technically somebody could go 1-3 with a light side deck, but go 4-0 with their dart, still make top 8, and you copy that deck because you think it's good because it made top 8. No, they made top 8 because their dark side deck, their light side deck almost cost them a top 8. Things like the OCS event deck lists are going to probably be geared towards their opponents more than a general deck to play in like your OCS monthly games. Um, we've had some other events like the League of Championship where some of the decks weren't always geared towards other decks. Like they kind of had a Swiss round that you kind of had to leave some unknown variables open for. But mostly I would pick majors and then try to find the decks that that didn't go 1-3 that still made top 8.
So I would say if you are choosing a net deck, maybe something out of a top 8 list or a day 1 list, um, play it exactly how the person played it at least twice, or I guess 3. I like 3 times, right? So that way you can see kind of why they have the cards they have in the deck. They've already gone through this iteration period that you're about to go through, where you're like, well, I don't know about this card. I'm going to put in some of my own.
So when someone net decks, generally they're doing so because they don't have, enough familiarity or experience with a deck to construct their own. Right? It's path of least resistance. You pick a deck that's already assembled. You trust that decisions have been made, even if you don't fully understand them. So number one, when you net deck, don't think you know better. Right? Sort of play it as it lies.
We have a joke in the team chat that like I put in a bunch of Taco Bill cards when we start playing, and it's stuff like if I can have a good example, it's stuff like, oh, I'll add a second escape pod combo because I'm like, oh yeah, I want to find my Hujix fast and I want to be able to play against Shadow Collective. But I'll play the deck and I'll realize that I don't necessarily need a Hujix fast, or I'm already beating Shadow Collective. So somebody's already done all that work for you for some of these decks. So definitely play it how they played it first before you adjust anything. And then obviously you can adjust things to your own style, right? So like sometimes we pick up Team 5 decks every once in a while, and they always have a sense combo, and I'd much rather have a sense than a sense combo. So things like that.
And number two, reach out to, if not the creator of the deck, just another player who might have, familiarity with it, right? Like, Hitco, you can talk to Chris Kelly, you can talk to Casey, you can talk to, Garrett, or just watch those two play games with Hitco today. It's like,
getting pointers, tips, the lay of the land, get it from somebody who knows the deck well before going blindly with it, like, an old Allies deck that has Weeses in it or something like that. Um, but then, of course, after net decking, after getting some advice, reps. You need reps with a deck, and then get feedback on those reps. So the beauty of Star Wars today is you can share replays with anyone, and it takes someone sends me a replay. It takes me 5 minutes of my time to watch the game and type out some suggestions, and different people are okay with different levels of criticism. I mean, if you want, I'll give you 300 words of criticism. If you just want a few pointers, that's fine too. But absolutely, just getting feedback once you've played the deck, and when you're playing the deck yourself, your brain is being forced to make those decisions on your own. You learn things that way, but you also learn what you might do differently. Like that's basically at a certain point, it's good for you to try to experiment, but not immediately. If you're net decking, trust it, go with it, and after some time, then you can ad lib.
You still have to tweak it to your play style. You can't just pick up a deck and go, I'm going to play it exactly like they did, because not all of us have the same play style.
And then once you pick it, give it a few chances to play it, see if it fits your style. If it doesn't, pick something else. I mean, you know as well as I do that, both of us are, we tend to play certain styles of decks. That's what we do well with. That's what we know. So that's what we're going to go follow. But somebody that's new to the game, they haven't found that style. So find it by just playing the decks and seeing how it goes.
Well, hopefully you've got a better feel for net decking now. I'm making a point of letting the panel speak for themselves and not summing up their advice, but I know I learned a few things this go round. What was your biggest takeaway from their advice? How do you go about choosing a net deck? What questions would you like the panel to answer in the future? Thanks for watching, and until next time, good luck, have fun, and no reverts. Well, hopefully you got a better feel for choosing net decks now. Let's try that again. How do you go about... Let's try that again. Well, hopefully you've got a better feel for choosing net decks, for net decking. Maybe just net decking. Well, hopefully you've got a better feel for net decking now. I'm making a point of letting the panel speak for themselves and not summing up their device, but their device? Well, hopefully you've got a better feel for net decking. Well, hopefully you've got a better feel for net decking now. I'm making a point of letting the panel speak for themselves and not summing up their advice. But I know that I learned a few things this go round. How do you go about choosing a net deck? What questions would you like the panel to answer in the future? There needs to be a third question there.